Okay, so everyone, welcome to the OpsWorks lab. So you can see over here that we have three offerings from OpsWorks. We have OpsWorks stacks, and then we have one for Chef Automate and for Puppet Enterprise, something that we learned in theory, right? So for Chef Automate, you can see the description. You can create Chef servers that include Chef Automate premium features and use the Chef DK, which is the development kit, or any Chef tooling to manage them. And similarly for Puppet Enterprise, you can see that you can create Puppet servers that include the Puppet Enterprise features. You can inspect, deliver, update, monitor, and secure an infrastructure, right? But for right now, we are going to go with OpsWorks stacks. And one thing that you can note on the top is OpsWorks actually doesn't need a region to work with because OpsWorks is global in nature, right? And you can see over here on the bottom, you can see that you can go ahead and download the respective OpsWorks agent for Chef 12 as well as for Chef 11.10 and so on. But for right now, what we are going to do is we are going to get started by adding our first stack. So you can see over here, there are three options for us, right? With OpsWorks stack itself, we have an option to go ahead and create a sample stack, or we have the option to go ahead and create a Chef 12 stack, or we have the option to go ahead and create a Chef 11 stack, right? With Chef 12 stack, you can see over here, it says bring your own cookbooks or use your community cookbooks. But with Chef 11 stack, you can see over here, it's built-in cookbooks for applications and deployments. So I'm going to show you these two offerings, Chef 11 stack and sample stack. But you can see over here, Chef 11 stack works with only Linux, but Chef 12 stacks, you can also bring Windows, right? So we are going to get started with the sample stack for right now. A Node.js application will be set up for us by default, and we have to just choose our platform. And you can see the definition over here for stack is a set of layers, right? So let's go ahead and click on create stack. So right now it's creating a new IAM role because it has to orchestrate the entire AWS infrastructure on your behalf. So therefore it's creating an IAM role. It's taking a little bit of time. So it's creating the stack. It's setting up the Chef cookbook repository for the stack. It's creating a layer called as Node.js app server layer. It's assigning a recipe to the deploy lifecycle event in order to go ahead and deploy the Node.js application onto that server. And it's adding that instance to the layer, right? Let's explore the sample stack. So you can see on the left side, we have all of the details. I'm going to cover everything. So right now it's saying that we are exploring the sample stack. You can say I got it. You can see right now that we have one instance in the stop state, and you can see the apps is we have a Node.js sample app over here. Now let's go ahead and look at more of these in more detail, right? Let's look at all the configurations on the left side. So you can see the layers on the left side. So you can see that we do have one layer over here. You can add one more layer for yourself, and you can choose to have that layer for ECS or RDS. So ECS is Elastic Container Service, and RDS is your relational database service. And like I mentioned, your database is going to be residing in a separate layer. Let's cancel out from this. And you can see over here, you have the other configurations. So you can see it's, okay. So let's click on the stack. Let's go to layers again. So we have the settings for this layer, right? Let's click on this general settings. I'll walk you through this. So you can see over here that we have the name for our application, as well as we have the short name for that, and the instant shutdown timeout and so on, and the auto healing, whether it's enabled or not. And we spoke about auto healing. So even if you hover over that, you will see that if suppose there is any restart of the layers instance in case of a failure, it automatically restarts that instance on a different host, right? So let's go to recipes, and you can see over here under the deploy lifecycle event, they have a Node.js _ demo recipe, and all these recipes are coming from an S3 bucket that it has set up for us as our repository for our recipes. And you can see these are the lifecycle events. Something to remember going into the exam. We have the setup lifecycle event, we have the configure lifecycle event, we have the deploy lifecycle event, we have the undeploy and the shutdown lifecycle event, right? So when we go to the network configuration, you can see that we don't have any ELBs that we have associated over here. So what we have to do is we have to go to the EC2 console, and then we have to add a load balancer, and then coming back over here, we have to go ahead and choose our load balancer, right? And once we do that, what's going to happen is all the existing instances that are being attached to that load balancer, if suppose you had any in EC2 that were attached to that load balancer's target group, that load balancer is going to remove those EC2 instances, and then it's going to go ahead and register the EC2 instances that are part of your OpsWorks layer, right? So that's something to remember. So if you have any existing instances, then it's going to go ahead and remove those from your load balancer's target group, like deregister them, and then it's going to register all of the current instances that you have as part of your layer in OpsWorks to your load balancer. And you can see over here, you can automatically assign an IP address. Public IP addresses are assigned by Amazon themselves. Elastic IPs are static IPs that you can allocate, but then there is a cost to using an Elastic IP if you don't use it and you allocate it, right? So you can see under EBS volumes, Right now you can see that we will be able to add additional EBS volumes if suppose we would like to. And you can see that we can choose the volume type to be either one of these 5 volume types that we studied in EC2. And you can also specify the size and the mount point, right? So regarding the security, you can see over here, we have selected a security group. It has created a security group on our behalf for us. But other than that, you can also choose the instance profile for this particular layer, right? So we know what security groups are. It allows us to secure our traffic within that respective instance, right? So whatever traffic is on the inbound to that instance or whatever traffic is on the outbound to that instance, it helps us to, restrict all of that traffic. So you can specify your own rules in your security group and it's stateful in nature. So whatever you specify on your inbound, automatically it's applied on the outbound. So other than that, you can also see over here that you can enable CloudWatch logs, but then you have to enable this role and you have to click on upgrade, which is going to go ahead and create a new role for us. And it's going to send all of our logs to a CloudWatch logs group, right? And we all know what tags are. Tags are key value pairs, which helps us during cost analysis, right? And it also helps us keeping that compliance across our entire organization, stating that this particular OpsWorks layer is part of that particular application, right? And now let's go to the instances. So you can see that right now we have an instance in the stop state, which is a T2 medium instance, and it's in the availability zone of US East 1A. So let's go ahead and start this instance, right? So right now it's requesting that capacity, and then it's going to go through all of the different stages, and it's going to go ahead and get that instance provisioned for us. And you can also add one more instance to this layer, but by default, like I mentioned, a layer consists of one instance at the start, but then you can add multiple instances like you, how many ever instances you would like, right? Okay, so while this instance starts, right now you can see that it has also a public IP that has been associated with it. Let's go through the two types of instances that we can have over here. One is time-based instance. You can go ahead and click on this to add a time-based instance. And you can also go ahead and choose the host name for that instance, the size of that instance, the subnet within which you would like to have that instance. And under advanced, you can choose the scaling type, whether it's 24/7 or time-based or load-based. And you can also choose your SSH key. You can choose the operating system. And the OpsWorks agent, right, that is running, it's going to be inherited from the stack automatically. So you don't have to worry about that. But you can also click on this drop down and choose the respective version of the OpsWorks agent, right, which is doing all of this orchestration and the deploy lifecycle hooks for your application and so on. And then we have the tenancy, which is default or dedicated host, which you have anyway spoken about in the EC2 section. The root device type, you can choose to have EBS backed or instance store backed. With EBS backed, you get that durability for your storage. Even if you stop and start, your data is not deleted. But then with instance store, if you stop and start, your data is deleted, right? And then the volume type is either one of general purpose SSD or provisioned or magnetic for the root volume. And the volume size can be whatever you specify, up to 16 TB, right? So under existing OpsWorks stack, you can see that there are no other layers with the instance. So therefore, it's asking us to create a layer first with the instances, right? So we have to create a new instance. These are the settings that you have to go through, right? Similarly, if suppose you go with load-based instances also, you also see the same set of configurations, right? So this time it's chosen as load-based rather than time-based, right? Everything else is the same configuration. Now let's go to our instances page and see. Right now you can see that the instance is in the booting stage. So it's still in the setting up stage right now. Once it has been set up properly, it's going to come to the online stage. Once it has come to the online stage, then we can go ahead and choose our app and go ahead and deploy our application. So right now you can see on the app side over here, there is one sample app over here. You can click on that sample app. You can get the details. So this is OpsWorks ID, and this is from where it is getting that sample app. It's from GitHub, right? You can copy this link and paste it on the browser and then find out which repository it's coming from, right? Right? You can see this is the sample demo application that it's using. And you can also go ahead and see whether you have any domains that you have registered or whether you have enabled SSL settings and so on. You can also edit these configurations, right? Okay. So regarding deployments, you can see that we certainly have no deployments right now. You can also go ahead and deploy an application, which we are going to do in a bit, right? Once the instance has booted up. So other than that, on the monitoring tab, you do see some monitoring metrics that are coming through CloudWatch for you, like the CPU system, the average memory that is being used, and the load, as well as the different processes that are running. So this is the only place where you get the memory utilization from OpsWorks, right? Otherwise, memory utilization is actually a custom metric in CloudWatch, okay? So under resources, you can see over here whether you have any resources that you have created, such as elastic IPs or any additional volumes or a database instance, right? So under permissions, you can see that right now you can see no IAM users are imported. To import users, you can go to the users page and start importing, but then the different permission levels that can be assigned for that particular IAM user is that you can give the deny permission, which blocks all of the users access to the stack. You can give the IAM policies only, wherein you will use an IAM policy to restrict the permission. You can give the show permission level, which combines the user's IAM policy with the permissions of read-only access. You can choose the deploy. So let's say that there is another team member in your organization who would like to use OpsWorks to deploy application to a specific instance and so on, right? And different versions he would like to use for that application. Then you can give him the deploy permission level so that he can only go ahead and deploy an application, but he cannot go ahead and do anything else other than deploying, right? And the manage, it gives full permissions to that particular stack. So he'll be able to create new layers. He'll be able to create new stacks, in fact, right? So anything is possible, right? So that's why they have already pre-built given you these many permission levels. So let's first go back to users on the bottom, and let's see if we are able to add a new user or probably import an IAM user, right? So let's go ahead and import an IAM user. Right now I'm the root user, okay? I have logged in as the root user. So let's import an IAM user. So right now it gives us the list of IAM users. I'm going to choose Akshay right now and import it to OpsWorks, right? And now I can go ahead and click on stacks. I can go and click on my stack, and I can go down to permissions, and I can go ahead and you can see over here by default Akshay has the permission of IAM policies only, but I can go ahead and choose deny over here, which means he will not be able to do any actions like adding new layers or something like that. He'll not be able to do any action on this particular stack. But for right now, I would like to give him the show permission level and click on save, where he will only be able to do read only access to the stack resources, but he will not be able to create anything. Let's test this out. I would like to test this out. So this is the first time that I'm doing this. So I'm going to go to IAM and grab the new login link for any user that would like to log in to this account. And I'm going to go to a new window, incognito window, paste this, and I'm going to log in as the user Akshay. I'm going to go to OpsWorks, and then I'm going to check whether I'm able to create a layer or not. Right? So let's log in as that user. Okay, so I've logged in as this user right now. So let me go to OpsWorks. So I've chosen OpsWorks from the services dropdown. So you can see I'm going to go to OpsWorks stacks. And you can see right now that it's showing that there is one sample stack over here, which has one instance online. But let me try to add a new layer to the stack, and let's see that what are some of the errors that I get, right? I hope I do get an error. So let's click on add new layer. Let's give it a new name. So I'm going to call this as database, or probably let me just call it as app servers. And let me give that the same thing as the short name. So right now it has actually allowed me to go ahead and create a new layer, which is pretty interesting. Let's see if we are able to add any new instances to this layer. So let me click on add instance, and you can see that it's allowing us to go ahead and choose all of these settings. So let me add a new instance. Let me probably add one with very small capacity. I think I'll go with T2 micro, right? Or T3 micro. And I'm going to choose the SSH key. Everything else I'm going to leave it the same, 24/7. Yep. Let's click on add instance. So right now it has added a new instance. It's in the stop state. Let me go ahead and add it. I'll probably go ahead and click on start. So it's going ahead and starting this instance. So even if we give the read-only access, this person is still able to do a lot of things. What could be the reason? What could be the reason that this person is able to do a lot of things in this stack? So let's go to the IAM user and let's check what permissions this IAM user has. So right now you can see that this person has administrator access policy. So that's the reason why everything is being trumped. So let me remove this access from the root account. So it has detached this permission right now from this user. And now let's go over here and let's try going ahead and adding a new layer. Let me first refresh this page. And let me try adding one more layer to the stack. And let's see if we are getting an error or not, right? So let me go ahead and click on layers. Let me try adding one more layer. So you can see over here, you don't have permissions for this action. So therefore, it's always important to remember that if suppose the user that you are assigning to the stack already has administrator access within that particular AWS account, that person will be able to do literally anything, irrespective of whatever permissions you give to that person on the permissions level. So even though over here we have given only show permission, that person was still able to go ahead and add a new layer. He was able to add a new instance to that layer only because that person had administrator access policy. Otherwise, you can see everything else is grayed out. He can't delete, he can't add a new layer, he can't go ahead and probably even create any instances for any existing layers, or even create or deploy the app, or edit the app, or delete the app, or even add a new app. So nothing should be possible right now, right? So this is the kind of restriction that you can possibly give your team members who are using OpsWorks in order to deploy any applications, right? So I'm going to go back to the main account, right? And right now you can see that our instance has come up, okay? And this instance is still booting, and we don't want to care about this layer right now, but we already have this Node.js app server layer with the instance that has come up. So I'm going to go back to deployments, and I'm going to deploy the app. So I'm going to choose the deploy command, which is that particular stage, right, where I have my chef recipe specified. And under advanced, you can see over here, you can give any custom chef JSON that you would like. Or under instances, right now, I'm going to choose to deploy this application only to the Node.js app server layer, which has the Node.js server that is in the up status. So let me go ahead and deploy this. So right now the status is running. So let's just wait for some time until the status is completed. In the meantime, let's also just look at the tags. So you can go ahead and click on edit, and you can go ahead and specify key value pair tags over here. This is also very useful for you to identify, like even on the layers they have tags, even on the stack level they have tags, right? Because on the layers I showed you that there are tags, even on the stack level right now they have tags, which they have introduced brand new to specify that this particular stack is probably part of this particular project or something like that, depending on how you would like to provide your tags, so that it shows up on the billing and management console, where you can generate your cost report and find out how much cost this particular stack had based on all of the layers and the instance that it had within it, right? So let's see whether our deployment was successful. So our deploy is still running, I believe. So let me just click on this. So deployment is still running. You can also click on the SSH over here. So there is no SSH key that was defined for this particular instance at the start, right? But you can also go ahead and choose your private key. But then right now we don't have any SSH key that is there, right? So therefore we will not be able to SSH into this sample layer that we have created. But for the second layer that we have, the second layer's instance actually has an SSH key, but not the first layer instance, right? Let's go back to deployment and okay. So right now it has completed. We see the tick mark over here. The way that we access the application and test it out is to go to the instances and look at its public IP. Let's open up the public IP on the browser. Right now you can see this is our sample Node.js application, and we have deployed it through AWS OpsWorks. And you can see right now that it's running it on a Linux-based instance. A request came from this particular Mac OS. Right now I'm running a Mac OS with 10.14 version, and it should also possibly tell me the Chrome version. Yep, tells me the Chrome version, and also the system time, right? Pretty nice. So that's how you go ahead and deploy your applications in OpsWorks stacks. And now you can see over here, you can also deploy the same application to your other app server also. But let's try to go ahead and tear down our environment. So the first thing that we would do is stop this EC2 instance. And once it goes down to the shutting stage, and once it goes down to the stop stage, then we'll be able to go ahead and remove that layer, right? You can also go ahead and delete this layer. This is going to take some time. It's going to wait for some time. But in the meantime, let me also walk you through the other type of OpsWorks stack, which is the Chef 11, right? So this is a sample one that we did right now. Let's go back to OpsWorks. And let's go to OpsWorks stacks. And let's see if we are able to do something other than the sample stack. Let's go ahead and add a new stack. And we are going to go with Chef 11 stack. And the stack name I'm going to give is called as sample stack. I'm going to place it in Northern Virginia region and within the default VPC and in the subnet of US East 1A with the Amazon Linux 2018 version, right? And you can see all the different operating systems that are already supported are Ubuntu 14.04 or any custom Linux AMI that you can bring by yourself, Red Hat Linux Enterprise version 7, and you have the different Amazon Linux versions, right? And the default SSH key, I'm going to use 1. The Chef version that we are going to use is 11.10. If you enable use custom Chef books, it's going to go ahead and enable the repository over here. And you can also choose to manage the Berg shelf which is the set of repository customized chef recipes that you are bringing to this OpsWorks stack, right? So we are not going to enable that, and you can also give your stack any color that you would like. And in the advanced settings, you can choose your EBS backed instance, your IAM roles, your instance profile, your API endpoint, which is US East 1 right now, and so on, right? So let's go ahead and click on add stack. So this is how you would create a Chef 11 stack. And similarly, all the other configurations are the same, guys. You have to go ahead and create a new layer. You have to add an instance to that layer, go ahead and use time-based or load-based, create a new application by yourself, deploy that application onto the instance, monitor your application, probably add a new Elastic IP, or probably add a new RDS instance, or probably add a load balancer. Under permissions, provide your team members the respective permissions that you would like to provide them. Go to users, and you'll probably be able to add your respective users to the OpsWorks stacks, right? So that's how OpsWorks works. It has stacks, it has layers, and you'll be able to automatically work with these, right? So that's all I have for the practical perspective. I hope you got good insight into how OpsWorks works. So I think, yeah, that's a nice way to end it. So I think you would like, you have understood how OpsWorks works. Yeah, so anyways, I'll catch you in the next class, right? So thanks a lot for attending this session, and have a great day, guys. See you. Bye-bye.